Welcome. I hope we can live up to the kind words. It's really amazing to be in this space. It has the energy of being built by students, and it's just really nice to have a full house. It's quite a pleasure to be here tonight. So, I guess we don't really need to say much more about the history, except for the fact that yes, Superpool started in 2006 in Istanbul, and we'll kind of show you some of our adventures in the last 7 years.
Yeah, so we will kind of, through each project, more or less touch upon this future city, discuss them within the projects themselves, and let's see where it goes. It will be very fun if you guys have questions. Ask them right away throughout the talk, so it becomes kind of dialogue. But obviously, you will talk fast. So, we'll start with the Praxis position. Or Istanbul is already positioned, but this is how it has been positioned for a couple of centuries in Europe.
Kind of similar, yes. It has been a part of a big network like Vienna has been for centuries, and then fell apart and kind of became its own island for a little bit. And now, after the fall of the USSR, it kind of has another role again. It becomes a kind of again in the intersection of a lot of geopolitical and global interests. So then, of course, it looks like this at its best. If you're a tourist, this is what you see. We're all proud of this image of Istanbul. If you're a little bit more adventurous, you end up kind of crossing the Bosphorus, then you're on Asia, and that's kind of, you get this kind of very tranquil, potentially, image of the city. And then, of course, if you're a developer or an investor or a finance person, then there's this image that you're proud of. And as architects, of course, we also operate in this context.
So we'll show you kind of let's say, large-scale architecture project of the type we also do. But as Philip said, we do many kind of things, so this is kind of a variety of things. So done in collaboration with the Architecture Institute out of Copenhagen. We were asked to think about how one of the last unbuilt areas within the kind of larger city border, how to build 120,000 square meters of housing on. It's a rather big site. It's on the far lower right-hand side, as big as any of the bigger parts of the city.
In some ways, it was a very easy collaboration because both offices had their kind of immediate response to say, hey, we should not build on the site, we should kind of come up with a scenario where we would protect the site. So we had kind of a giant perimeter scheme. This is sort of typical construction in Istanbul. It's a bunch of separate towers. It kind of follows the modernist garden city model, but in a very, very miserable way many times. And this project, we knew it was bound to be a gated community, but we thought maybe it would be a solution to have the building become the wall itself, so there would be interaction with the street. And that was a proposal to make a giant perimeter scheme.
With this flexible ribbon, as we call it, you could modify for different urban conditions, for light, for sun, for wind, and it could look something like this again. One of the things we were explaining the developer was that throughout the time of the project, these are 5-year projects usually, due to this flexibility of the rim, without, let's say, destroying the image of the project, we could easily reconfigure it according to the market needs as it was time was passing.
The developer knew it would be a very successful project in terms of getting architectural kind of appreciation, but he said, I won't be able to make enough money, so he built a scheme that was kind of similar, the long blocks along the perimeter and the tower in the middle, which is under construction now. It was okay, we parted our ways and moved on. So that's kind of course, because that sort of big development is happening in the city, that becomes, as an architect, a field of play or work. But what we are also interested in a lot is this image of the city where it's kind of the daily life happens in a very dense environment, and kind of to work with its challenges, to kind of try to see where it can be improved, what can be, how can you actually tactically work within this texture.
Just to say, we often end up discussing Istanbul in this, comparing to Sao Paulo, to Beijing, to Mumbai. And in that context, Istanbul is actually a relatively calm and well-managed city. But it's of course different when you're there on a daily basis, that you feel Istanbul is quite a mess. But really on the global scale, it's a rather tame city.
Well, one of the first projects we have done in that context was to do this Kolloquium map. It came out of a very precise need for us to learn the city because I was away for 7 years and we came back as a couple, as partners in the architecture firm, and I needed to explain the city to Gregory. He was looking for maps. There was no maps, or there was a spook, but it was very difficult to navigate with. So we said, okay, why don't we do some transportation maps? And to make it almost kind of a joke, we picked this system, the Kolloquium system, to map, because these actually, it started off as an informal system based on need. So if you could afford to buy a minibus almost, you could actually operate it and you could carry people on their routes. Of course, this was 30, 40 years ago. Now they're quite incorporated into the system, and they are registered in the municipality. But it's still sort of a joke to make a map of it because it's a very fluid system. It works with verbal communication. And the people who use the minibus actually don't really use the maps, and the tourists don't really use the minibus. But it was a commentary and a provocation to make this.
The point is that if there's a traffic jam, the driver takes another right. If there is a construction work, they also reroute, right? So it's an extremely well-functioning system for a city where the public transport cannot keep up with the needs.
Can we go back one slide? I mean, this is actually the beginning of. Just go to the map. So, So this is actually one of the kind of first self-invented projects we have done in our office. One of my friends was starting a souvenir company, and she was looking for kind of design items, and we said, hey, why don't we do you a map? Can we make a transportation map for you, and you will, you can produce it and sell it as a part of your collection. And most of the data here was collected by taking all the individual minibuses by riding them, kind of very analog. This is 6 years ago. Portable GPSs were not so common. They didn't exist in the phone, whatnot. So what I'm trying to say is it started a path of research for us. It was a very small project that just came out of almost fun, but led to much more serious projects. One of which is Mapping Istanbul. Yeah.
You said you were riding the buses, the minibuses.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to ride actually all the lines?
It was like a month of work to do the research, and then maybe like 2-3 weeks, 1 month to map it nicely.
Yeah, but it's also really, what you didn't say, we only picked five most inner nodes of the system. I mean, it's not the entire system. Okay. So it's a portion of it. How much of it?
Well, maybe like 15%, 20%. It's really the inner city. And when we made the maps, we sent them to the municipality as well, and we said, hey, we did this. And then they called us back after a week. They said, can you send us 5 more? And we're missing 2 lines. And why didn't you put the kind of image of the old Istanbul on the cover, because we had sort of a very
So they hit exactly the point we were after. Like, we need to talk about the contemporary city and not kind of a historic image of the city.
Which maybe could be a parallel subject with Vienna. I don't know. Anyhow, so Mapping Istanbul came after that. It was a commission by Gürdoğan, which is one of the. Now it's operating under the name Salt. They're a very important cultural region in the city.
Yeah, and it's really a snapshot of Turkey in 2008-9. It doesn't give any particular conclusions, but it's a kind of a positioning Istanbul globally, regionally, as well as looking at Istanbul within itself. So flights out of Istanbul to the rest of the world, buses out of Istanbul, so bigger is more frequent, because of the education level of the country. So here's darker is better educated. So underlying the point that actually there is an east and west division of the country. If we look at the growth of the city, where darker is older, what is interesting is to see, even though Istanbul is a very old city, it's a very, very small part of the contemporary city that is that old, right? I think 80-90% of the city is less than 50 years old. So it's also a very young city in terms of the building stuff.
this work was compiled over 2 years with quite a few of also academic researchers and students part of the research. Here you see all the kind of the education levels, again within the city now. And it sort of follows a very expected pattern where you have views to the Bosphorus, it's a kind of more educated and then smaller households and better economic level in general. And behind the hills it's usually where you have the opposite.
So, but it's interesting to see that there is still some undeveloped, let's say, maybe zones along the Golden Horn where it's still relatively up for grabs what's going to happen.
And those are now the areas that are feeling the most pressure in terms of gentrification processes. So here you see Beyoğlu and also the Golden Horn as the main areas that don't follow the rules. This is a compiled bus map of all the bus routes in Istanbul. It's not possible to have another compiled map available publicly.
It's not available. You can't get a bus map, let's say. So it was our first attempt to say, okay, we need to have a bus map, but we didn't get it.
The information exists online as individual lines, but to get the complete overall pictures is not possible.
That's important to go back, because what we were looking for also as new arrivals was to understand where does the city end, how big, how long, how tall, how many of this and that makes up the city. So another example is all the astroturf or football fields, how they're distributed over the city, as well as the street markets. So every color is a different day in the week. So these street markets move from one neighborhood to the other every day. It kind of contributes to the normal life of the city.
Currently we're continuing mapping, but we do it in a very kind of street-like manner. Every month we do one map for this cartoon magazine. It's kind of a very targeting a quite young population. And we do a column in it every month. The overall theme is environment. Here you see kind of all the registered architects and urban planners and landscape architects in the per city in the country. This is all the map, all the parks in the city and how you can access them with public transportation.
There's a bicycle map, or let's say an imaginary bicycle map. I mean, we were trying to deal with the notion that Istanbul is too hilly to bike in, but if you look at it a little bit, let's say, analytical and overlay the street maps with the topography, you can see, of course, there's streets without bicycles in the city, and you just need to realize where they are and how they connect to each other. There's a much more important from the overall ecology of the country is the new project for a hydroelectricity plant, and it's really massive of all these spots that they're setting out for bids. So it's our way of continuing a, let's say, much more fast-paced discussion with the city of how Turkey is developing.
This work is done in collaboration with a graphic designer and an editor, so it's also kind of helps us continue our conversations with friends we like to work together. So that's another important thing to mention. All of this work led to another project, which is called the Audio Urban Future Award, where we were selected as one of the 5 teams that were asked to look at their own city and imagine the future of mobility for 2030. So we were working in conjunction with Mumbai and Boston, Washington region, also Pearl River Delta, as well as Sao Paulo. Yeah. So all of this became an exhibition in Istanbul in 2012, and we will show you now the proposal. So the idea we had for the project was quite simple. If you were to use these famous dolmuşes or shared mobility vehicles, you would be helping remove cars from the street, you would be earning points, and with the points you earn, you get to occupy back the space. So it was a very simple idea, kind of like almost a game-like thing, but it touched on important issues for Audi, which was mobility, future traffic technology, and also important issues that we thought we had to put on the table, which was participation, democracy, and community building.
Yeah, so this was, of course, 1.5 years ago when we started working on that. So And prior to that, it's important to say that we have been in a long process of trying to engage the public in kind of discourse about urban development, very unsuccessfully. Like we have tried to do campaigns, doing petitions and so forth, but it was extremely difficult to get people's awareness of what's going on in the city.
Yeah, we will talk about that in the process of this project now. I mean, we had this fairly lofty sentence. We said, you know, the future of democracy is in the streets where cars have freed up space for park. Park was our proposal. And it was important 2 years ago, I guess, for some of you who know the events of last summer in Istanbul, it was already in the air. You know, if you were experts about, not expert, but if you were working on the city, you knew that some of these big projects would cause, slowly they would cause some sort of trauma. But it was just latent and it wasn't obvious to general public. So when we were asked to look at mobility, we didn't really want to talk about, you know, how many bridges Istanbul should have or what you should do with the main arteries and the traffic congestion on the main arteries.
Yeah. Even though Istanbul is the most congested city in Europe, we thought the real problem is really on the side streets. It's not whether a guy can drive his car to work every day or not, but this is where, you know, again, normal people being engaged, cars, cars on the streets. So this is a relatively normal day around there, often except that it's snowing. It doesn't snow so often it doesn't, but on that day we had to shoot the movie and show this stuff.
You survived.
No one was harmed during the recording. So what is the future of mobility in Istanbul? So again, as I was said, we were kind of fascinated with the history of sharing, like sharing mobility, sharing architecture, sharing streets. So the bus car, the minibus. Today, like corporate firms like Zipcar promotes the use of shared cars because they claim at least that up to like one shared car takes 20 cars off the street. So in Istanbul, that would be a miracle. Like if there was
20 times less cars in Istanbul, it would be just an amazing city. But so that was we wanted to work with the existing tendencies in the city, so the Dolmuş came back. You know, we don't need to imagine Dolmuş in its current form. Obviously, this is the future. It's an electric car, or whatever. It's use of sun energy, or whatever it does. But it's the mode of operation of the shared car. That was what we carried with the idea of Dolmuş. So. What is interesting also in Istanbul is, of course, we have all these different types of modes of transportation, but also some of them are owned privately. So we have something very strange. We have a private bus, which is a bus that's actually owned by individuals that serves the public. It's a part of the public bus system. You wouldn't be able to know the difference as an outsider. But for us, it's an interesting model because it means the weight of financing a system like this is actually kind of outsourced to many different people. So it's sort of a crowdsourcing scheme in our idea. Like we could talk about it as a crowdsourcing scheme to make the terms contemporary. And we thought that was interesting. And in the future, let's say, okay, so there is less cars on the streets. We could claim back the streets. And why are the streets important? Because streets are the main public space in Istanbul. It's not a city of parks, it's not a city of big squares, but it is definitely a city of very active streets.
So it's where you celebrate, where you demonstrate, where you have a break, where you relax, where the kids are playing. But again, we're back to the cars, right? This is the only place in the center of the city where you can access water and the parking lot.
And again, of course, streets are important for kind of a democratic existence in the city. So this slide was also quite important for us because the streets are not meant to be clean spaces. They're meant to be spaces that they're not neutral. They should not be conceived as neutral spaces. They're spaces that can be occupied by the community. They are spaces that can be transformed, owned. Everything temporary, not permanent, but temporarily kind of change characters. And that's what makes exciting community, we argued. And this wasn't, we weren't arguing about this for the first time. In the 70s, a lot of American urbanists were talking about it. Jane Jacobs was talking about it. So we kind of referenced her work as well.
So this was kind of an imaginary day in 2030 when Mette Amtjern had earned enough points because he has used the shared modes of transport so that he could occupy this piece of land just outside his home and play his daily backgammon.
And equally important was to imagine the same thing, for example, for Thomsen Square. At that particular moment, the big project on Thomsen was still a reality, and we wanted to highlight that imagine an alternative future for Thomsen, that it didn't need to be one identity, it could have multiple identities, that you could, for example,
Part, an application for social interaction and mobility will transform the gathering places of the city into platforms for democracy. For instance, the proposals for the coming Sunday at Taksim Square will be selected from an events options posted online. The most important aspect of the project is that not only the proposals that get the most points, but also the ones that get the least, will be able to voice their opinions and talk about the issues they care about. Because the public sphere can only become democratic if minorities too can express their thoughts. All power to the imagination. Now let's take a look at what's happening in Taksim Square in 2030.
And why were we talking about this again? Because Turkey is rewriting its constitution for the 8th time since 1839. And every 20 years we rewrite the constitution, and every 20 years roughly we rebuild the city. Could we think about these things together? Could the software and the hardware be thought together? This was kind of our, and could it become more inclusive?
Yeah, and then plus the kind of the adaptation of digital tools, right? So Istanbul is the second largest Facebook city in the world, which means that young people are extremely fast in adopting new online tools, be it on the smartphone or on computers. And it's partly due to the size of the city, of course, like to communicate with your friends or family is much more efficient over online social platforms, just because of the difficulty of traversing the city.
So we will show you now a 3-minute
Part is an online platform for social interaction and
proposal
mobility.
of the online tool.
It works like this. You gain points every time you choose to travel by intelligent doors. With the points you collect, you get to rent space and organize events. Now let's take a look at how Elif is using Park. Elif wakes up and starts planning her day on Park. Elif looks at the many things happening in Beyoğlu today. She likes to live in Beyoğlu because there are many neighborhood events along with interesting institutional programs. Here is an invitation posted by Leila and Mehmet. Seems like their son Malik has learned how to ride a bike. Elif loves little Malik and would be happy to celebrate his achievement this evening. The event needs one more supporter for it to happen. She gladly accepts. The celebration will be on their street tonight. What else is happening in her neighborhood? Elif wants to run tomorrow morning at Gezi Park. So she goes to her neighborhood groups and writes to the morning runners. Seems like Lucas is up for a morning run. Elif also likes to cook in the communal kitchen. She will throw a feast next Friday. Many different communities organize events on Park. Elif is an architect and checks today's professional events in her city. Is there something that fits her schedule? These are all the architectural events located on the map. She can see when and where each event takes place. This urbanism workshop looks interesting. Let's see how it can be incorporated in her route today. Here's a list of all her appointments. She can easily go to the workshop before her doctor's appointment. Park places all her scheduled events on the map and suggests an efficient mode of transportation to get from place to place. The planner suggests the most efficient routes, taking into consideration the weather, traffic, and events on the streets. One of her colleagues, Hande, is also going to the same event. Great, Elif and Hande can share a dolmuş and earn points. Elif usually prefers to take the mode of transportation that gets her the most points, even if it means walking a little. On her profile, Elif shares all the pictures taken at the events she has hosted. She can also keep track of how she is gaining and sharing her points. By mostly taking shared transportation, Elif has collected a lot of points and helped organize many community events. She especially likes engaging youngsters to help them learn fun things and make sure everybody cleans up after. She has gotten such good feedback that she is now on the run to becoming a neighborhood leader. Support Elif by attending one of her Robots for Kids workshops. And remember, with Park, you too can make a difference in your community.
So this was really a kind of also a way to kind of encourage people to get out and use the public space in a way they were maybe not used to so much. Okay, possible.
Yeah, and of course we were playing around the issue of taxing the project on Thomsen, and this was the summer before the protests that took place last summer. And in some ways it's a kind of a new beginning, let's say, for discussions on public space now since the last summer. But we won't go too far in detail for that. It's just difficult to talk about this project without talking about the summer. So it was an exhibition project. We had kind of, the work was again in collaboration with the artist and a graphic designer. So we had this big sentence kind of up on the wall, and then we had the small videos of the cartoons, and then kind of longer slideshows that unpacked each part of that sentence. And inside the room we had the movies of the future life in Taksim and the two neighborhoods behind it projected in a circular space.
Trying to get this immersive atmosphere that you actually were on Taksim in this future city.
Okay, so we do a lot of exhibitions. That's kind of part of the work we have done over the last 5-6 years. One of which is the Becoming Istanbul exhibition. This is actually in relation to the book. So sometimes we do the content, sometimes we do both the content and the exhibition. Here, this was in Frankfurt actually, as a part of the book fair in 2009.
Great. Turkey was guest of honor. So this was how the first iteration of this exhibition that was about Istanbul, but not in Turkey.
And you see actually the maps in the back as our first incarnation. And then when the exhibition came to Istanbul, we were charged with designing the space for it also, the scenography. And yeah.
Becoming Istanbul is quite a big project for the institution. It's a Mapping Istanbul. It's an essay collection called Becoming Istanbul. It's also a photography about Istanbul called Tracing Istanbul. And it's also this online database that we saw in the beginning. So kind of the final celebration of all these things was the exhibition. So one question was how to exhibit a database, which you can browse today also.
It's actually a really good resource if you're looking for things on Istanbul, becomingistanbul.org. It has a lot of media, artist works and photography on Istanbul. So this was kind of our design for the space. We wanted to be kind of contrast the original exhibition, maybe make it more dark and kind of have people feel more at ease in browsing the database. And it had two other components. One was called 90 and the other one the making of Beyoğlu. All the components of the exhibition actually worked with archiving, with collecting. So here they were collecting an event every day and it was being video recorded and kind of archived.
Together with these seating elements that was again a 3D calendar with the day, the date of the day, the name of the speaker and the name of the talk. And here was a gaming space where Dutch urbanists came 6 times to host a game on urban topics or urban relevant topics.
And another component.
Yeah, one cool thing I like that you could ask a question to the exhibition. So at this podium, you could type in a question to Istanbul, and it would kind of be broadcasted throughout the exhibition on these kind of almost parasite LCDs that were spread throughout the building.
Another exhibition project is a pavilion we designed for the UAE, for the Venice Biennial. It was the second time the UAE was participating. That's why the exhibition was called the second time around.
Yeah, here there are big 3 artists to fill up this enormous space. The biggest space on the Arsenal. We had relatively little art to put in here, but at the same time, it was also a fantastic space. So how do you, at the same time, celebrate the artist as well as the space in a kind of in a way where the artists are portrayed in the best possible way. So one of them was a large-scale photography artist. We gave her this
we call them support structures or islands, but this one was functioning so that you could get close to each photograph and be along with it, because the side walls would kind of frame it. And if you walk back, you will see them in sequence, which they were also meant to be seen as 4 at a time. We had another kind of artist. She was an installation artist and wanted to had a piece called Dubai, and it showed how the city was always under construction, and it was a very three-dimensional piece, so we gave her sort of a ramp that you could walk up and down and appreciate the work from multiple heights. And then this gentleman here, he worked in the desert and he collected small objects and so forth, and so he had the most kind of idiosyncratic work and also the support structure.
So a way to how to respond to programmatic needs in a very, pragmatic way. Again, show one more exhibition project, this time on Stadt. Gallery at that time asked us to put their media collection on display instead of yet another artist show. This is how we work typically. Various of models and iterations of how to come to agreement with our client what is the best solution for a particular problem. So in this case, it became a 20-meter long bookshelf on one side and a seating arrangement on the other side.
Actually similar to this space.
Very similar. What's important to remember that on Stadt, on every day in the weekend, 2 million people passes by. So you need a space that is quite accommodating in the sense that it needs to be quite generous and easy to access for a large amount of people. So here they could host book signings, video screenings, as well as, of course, letting people look at the fantastic archive. So people came in with their laptops and scanners, scanning the media.
Also part of the fun thing with exhibitions with us is to experiment with materials. So the bookshelves you see here are built out of styrofoam. They're laser hot wire.
CNC hot wire cut. So these are 4-meter tall elements and 1 meter wide. So that's kind of, now we kick into a little short talk about material research. Selva is an EU-funded research project looking into how we can build more flexible with concrete.
It looks at complex shapes and how we could actually build them more efficiently by automation. So it's organized around 10 workflows, and each workflow aims to come up with its own innovation. It's a 14-partner team and works stretching over 4 years.
So quite nerdy, of course, in the sense that there is many parameters you need to investigate in this process to really create real impact. Because there is so many constraints that make it difficult to build complex shapes in concrete. But as architects, we were part of developing the
conceptual framework, and part of our research in the beginning was to look at is there a demand, and when you look at blogs like the Zine, where it's mostly competition proposals, you see about 50% of them have complex shapes. But when you look at our daily, it's more built projects, and you see it's about 15 to 20% that has complex curvatures. So, of course, we are fascinated as architects with the tools we have and what we can design. But at the same time, there is new tools that evaluate shapes for performance, and there's a lot to learn from kind of traditional architectures as well in terms of making shapes intelligent. So we thought the effort was definitely an interesting one to look at how to build these efficiently, so a complex shape doesn't need to be a very expensive shape.
Yeah, of course, the whole discussion tied into this 20-year-old dream of being able to press the print button on your computer and out comes a building. We're still not there yet, but at least there are some new tools available. So one of our partners or units developed this plugin for Rhino that can evaluate your shape already as you were designing whether it can be built. So for instance here where there is a thread zone, the curvature is too steep, that particular formwork can manage to build it, and they will suggest alternative formwork types. That was one of the 10 streams I was mentioning, looking into formwork and formwork materials. Here we're looking into wax and hoping to patent a system where you can use wax as a formwork, remelt it and use it again, thereby kind of eliminating some of this waste that we usually encounter when we're building complex shapes in concrete. Looking into, let's say, refining already used technology today, using EPS or styrofoam. One of the problems of reusing styrofoam is once it gets dirty, the manufacturer don't want to have it back again. So that's the moment where you can recycle it, but if it's clean, it's recyclable. So we're looking at rubber membranes to keep it clean. Other partners are looking at concrete and the concrete mixes that goes into these complex shapes. Yet another partner is looking at how we can assemble 3D shaped metal meshes. Because we were still using, of course, conventional reinforcement as well as other types. But once you need to create a mesh that is 3D, you can no longer do it as a human anymore. So two robots in conjunction can now create these 3D meshes. So right now we're building up in Denmark this prototype or demonstrator, as we're calling it. Here, still a month ago, they were preparing the first end and placing in the mid formwork here. We'll report later on back. It should be finished here in the end of January next year.
Okay, we're down to the last couple projects. So this is another architecture project. We're back to architecture. It's for a competition project for a school. It's in Şişli. Şişli is one of the densest areas also in Istanbul. Most of the green areas are either cemeteries or courtyards for hospitals. So here you see the site marked in red.
So the point is that they're not really accessible for daily use. This is the site, quite this triangular shape, dramatic zone in the city. We have a 20-meter drop from bottom, top to bottom. You have a 40-story high-rise on one side. And then this is the school that needs to be demolished. So this was how it looked in 1950. See, the area is also relatively sparse and populated. This is how it looks today, and how topography is seen as more as an obstacle in Istanbul. So build these big terraces and put some building blocks on top of it, and it's done here. But actually it's a 5-story building. When you look at 20-meter drop, it's 5 stories, so why not making the topography the building? And maybe utopian imagining that it stitches back the city and allows people, the citizens, to walk through the school. Maybe not on normal days, but at least in weekends it could become part of the city.
For us, competition projects are, we only do them when we want to make a statement, mostly an urban statement. So this was an interesting project for that because of the particular site. And we got an honorable mention, and one of the jury members came up to me afterwards and said, we know this is the future, but we're not ready yet. That's not it's
important to say that Istanbul has only 3 square meters where like WHO say a healthy city should have more than 10 square meters. So really any little green space you can put back into the city is extremely important and necessary.
Okay, another school project. This is we're in charge of running the Studio X Istanbul space in Istanbul. We just started last month, pretty much. The Studio X's are part of Columbia University's global network. They exist in 6 other locations as Studio X's and I think 3 others as labs. Their idea is to do local research and to kind of promote dialogue between other universities and the academic environment, the professional environment, and NGOs and local administration as well. So it has a very big task, but we will see how much can be done.
So this was 2 weeks ago. We had the opening party in the space. Fantastic amount of locals showed up. But the point is the Studio X is that it's not Colombia that comes with it's not a Starbucks opening and yet another global brand want to impose their ideas. It's really supposed to be ideas created locally, improved with, let's say, knowledge from New York if it's needed, or used to educate people in New York if that's the reason. So we created, together with a couple of good friends, this movie, provoking a little bit people's thoughts on what can happen in that architectural space, and a teaser for the opening part. Because when you say Studio X Istanbul and hosted by Columbia University, people think,
that it's an educational space, but it's an educational space with a twist. That's why we had the image of the motorcycle as a provocation, that anything could happen in the space. So we are also, as from institution to institution, we're very excited if TU Vienna would like to be hosted or develop programs within the Studio X network as well. That's a longer conversation.
I have to say that Studio X Istanbul is the European Studio X. Anyhow, upcoming work, and that's more for you guys. The design biennial in Istanbul next year has a very interesting theme, which is the future is not what it used to be. And we will encourage everyone to respond to the open call that will come out here. It's already out.
Yeah, it's already out. It has until February, 1st of February or something for first entries. But it's about future and manifestos and cities, so maybe some of you will be interested. And hopefully we will be also designing, we will be designing the space, so it's also really nice to design space for your work. And then also hopefully next year we will be coming to first MoMA and to MAC as a part of an exhibition about uneven growth tactical urbanisms. And this is MoMA's efforts to look into these big growing cities and make some comments, and we're working on Istanbul under that context starting next month.
So back in June there will be a workshop at the MAC where we share some of our findings together with the 5 or 6 other cities that are working in parallel. We're working in Istanbul.